the clients that I have in a group peace process, they could be plaintiffs, they could be defendants, they could be spouses of plaintiffs and defendants, they can be the lawyers, they can even be the judges. I've had clients in all those categories. And what I typically, let's put this in a concrete setting, what I typically tell lawyers is there a case that really bugs you, that you can't get out of your mind, that's really irritating you. And every lawyer goes, oh yeah, this one, and this client's driving me nuts, and I can't figure out what to do in this case. And judges that I've had, they say, I find myself really treating this person badly. I just can't stand this, person. And so I ask them to pick a case that's really bothering them. And then we sit down, and I normally do this over the phone. And we sit down, and I have the lawyer, I'll just use a lawyer, draw a circle on a piece of paper. And what we will do then is to ask any and all interested parties, any and all energies, any and all things that are in the highest and best interest of that case to make themselves known. Now, people go, well, nobody else is there but the lawyer. How can you do this? Well, we carry the entire conflict within ourselves. And when a lawyer draws a circle on a piece of paper and we start this process, different things will appear at different positions in that circle. This has happened with all lawyers and all judges that I've done this with. They say, well, I can't see energy, I can't hear energy, this sounds kind of Looney Tunes to me. And just try it. It's kind of a form of a purposeful prayer. And we're just making it a little bit more concrete. So they draw a circle. And that circle represents the litigation, the conflict. And that lawyer will be sitting at a certain position in the circle and will sit there and go, oh, I see the plaintiff's mother over here, or I hear or see this very funny looking cloud over here. One lawyer saw wolves and bears and eagles. Whatever has meaning to that lawyer will appear. And what it means is that there might be the energy of enemy making. There, in divorces, every time I've done this with a divorce, there's always been the parents of the plaintiff or the defendant have appeared in some way, have shown up. And I have to tell you, this is really startling to many lawyers and judges. They just start doing this and it happens. And, for some people, they've never meditated before. This is an entirely new concept, and you know what? It still works. When you bring some of the different energies and some of the different, or a representation of some of the people who are there, what happens is a lawyer can look at the circle much in the way that you would a settlement conference table. And the lawyer will hear different sides of the dispute. They may hear how a person's family has really made it impossible for them to hear the truth of another person. The lawyer may have an opportunity to say things to this whole group that they wouldn't have an opportunity to do so in court. They may talk about their client's vulnerabilities, or things that were upsetting to them, or things where, I don't really think my client was telling the truth about that. All kinds of things happen within this circle. And concretely, as an end result, lawyers sometimes see that all of a sudden a light bulb goes on and they say, oh, that's really what the other side wants. And all of a sudden the mind goes click, 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 and they can figure out a way to get around an impasse. And it's because they've had the kind of communication energetically with their opponents that they don't really have an opportunity to do so in court. You know, the sky's the limit when you're doing energy work. You're not limited by, gag orders. You're not limited by the rules of evidence. You're not limited by all the stuff. You can communicate on a level that you just can't communicate with in the courtroom. And it goes click, click, click. Oh, that's what I need in order to try to reach a settlement. And then sometimes I had one lawyer in Minnesota go, oh man, it's really important for my client to actually go to court and to have their day in court because they really need to stand in front of a whole group of people and say, I was hurt. And it was not a case that the lawyer thought that they could win, but that lawyer knew that after doing this process, that his client needed to go and get a public acknowledgement that he was hurt. And sure enough, went into the courtroom and based on certain notice provisions knew that he probably wasn't going to win. Didn't win the medical malpractice case, but you know what happened. His client got up there, said, unloaded his pain. And based on this lawyer's work, the respondents, the doctors and lawyers, they all came and they stayed and they listened. And they listened to the patient. They began to cry. And then they got up from their tables and they went and gave this guy a big group hug. And they kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, over and over and over again. This plaintiff lost the lawsuit, but he gained himself back. And the lawyer who did this process, I tell you, he was, somebody who'd been in practice for like 35, 40 years. He said, you know what? That's why I'm in the legal profession. That was more healing than any verdict could have ever been. So when you do a group peace process and the sky's the limit as to what's possible, and you start this more open communication, which does happen, everybody can see energy, everybody can hear energy. I just hold the container for people and it's amazing when people pray, you often think of another person. You sit down and you want to pray, let's say for your niece or your nephew, you think of the niece or the nephew and you pray. It's very similar. It's just amplified, I think, a little bit by doing this group peace process. Lawyers think that they're only there to represent the client and they want to do these processes just for their client. That lawyer whose client got up and the doctors got up and all went around and said they were sorry and went through, that lawyer, he had a stake in this. He had a need in seeing that happen. This was a benefit to his client, but it was also a benefit to him. He needed to have his faith restored into the validity of what he was doing. He had been in practice for a long time and he felt kind of removed. He felt a little more jaded. He felt enthusiastic about what happened. He felt an energy come into him and he was excited. He was strengthened. He was energized. He was refreshed. He had a need to see this happen. He had a need to feel that by doing this, by holding space for his client, he brought power and truth and healing to a situation. Even an old fogey like him is the way he described himself. And so it's really important for lawyers to recognize and for judges to recognize, we're in these professions for reasons and we're not totally selfless in this situation here. And by integrating our spirituality in a conscious way, it's good stuff for us too. It's healing for us and it's healing for our clients.